So if you'll mute yourself for now, like Lisa said, if you have a question, raise your hand. I will be asking some questions, so feel free to unmute and answer it if you know the answer, so we like to have a little bit of fun. This is as interactive as you guys want to be. I have so much information around fraud, and I really want to make sure you get the most out of it. So please, please engage, ask questions. There is no stupid question. So much around fraud that people just do not know, and so that's what we're here for. So let's go ahead and get started. Can everybody see my screen that says Understanding Fraud?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, awesome. All right, so we're First Horizon. Today we're going to be talking all about fraud. It is such a relevant topic with all of the new technologies. As a banking center manager, I see on a daily basis people coming in facing some sort of fraud. So we here at First Horizon, we're very passionate about educating our clients and the community on how to keep themselves safe. So we're going to talk a little about the different types of fraud, and then we're going to talk about the ways you can keep yourself safe. All right, so okay, what's in the slideshow here? Okay. So meet your team here at First Horizon. We're going to first give kudos to Miss Donna. Miss Donna's couldn't be honest with us today, but she is our dynamic business development officer. She handles all things financial education and wellness for First Horizon, and she is incredible. If you've ever had a chance to talk with her, or you ever do, her energy is just it's explosive and it's contagious, and I just love her to pieces. And I'm so sad we had to miss her today, but she was out celebrating some of our one of our colleagues who's celebrating an anniversary today. My name is Rachael Bollmeyer. I'm a banking center manager at the Thompson Memorial location of First Horizon. I've been with the bank for just over 5 years now, and I've been in management for about 2. I actually started my career as a financial wellness coach, and so I really have a passion for educating our communities. I do a lot of it. I'm probably one of the most well-known financial wellness presenters that we have. I do work with MTSU. I have done multiple things in Nashville. I partner with the Small Business Development Center to teach their interns. It really is my passion. So this is my absolute favorite thing to do. Little known fact though, this is my first virtual class. So go easy on me a little bit with the technology thing. And like I said, I love interaction. If I was in person with you, I would be throwing prizes at you and like making you actually interact with me. So we'll see if we can't do a little of that getting to know you guys while we're here too. All right, so let's do a little trivia. I don't know about y'all, but I love me some trivia. So, true or false, fraud is always committed by someone you know? The answer is false. Fraud can be committed by strangers or even people you know. We'll get into a little more about that later. The people who have to worry about the fraud that you know is going to be typically your elderly people that have family members that are going to take advantage of them. It was a really sad thing. That kind of fraud is the most heartbreaking for me. But people that you know may not realize they're committing fraud, and you may be complacent in it. So we'll talk a little more about that later. So the most common type of fraud: mortgage, identity, lottery, tax fraud. Identity theft is the most common type of fraud. Most people think of identity theft and they think someone steals your wallet, they get your information, and they use it for something. While that is true, there are other things that people do that don't require them to steal your ID, and they can still get your information out there. Did you know that the top type of fraud reported to the FTC was imposter scams, in which a caller pretends to be calling from the government, a business, or a relative with an emergency? People reported losing $12.5 billion to these imposters in 2024, which is a 25% increase from 2023. You may have seen that you may get the text messages where it talks about you owe this toll, or this package is delivered. Those types of things are also imposter scams that you may see, not even the phone calls, but now they're getting in on the text messages. Has anybody experienced anything like that? Show of hands, emoji, something that shows you've had any of that? Not quite? Okay, awesome. All right. All right, so let's talk about what is identity theft. So identity theft is the fraudulent acquisition and use of a person's private identifying information, social security number, or other personal information that they can use to open new accounts, make purchases, get tax refunds, etc. It's done in a couple of ways. The first way kind of identity theft is what's called a cyber attack. Now, these are data breaches that you may get where you saw, like the hospital last year had a huge data breach and you were at risk of that, of your information leaking from that, right? What's called the Internet of Things, aka IoT. This is actually routers, cameras, and link devices that you have in your own home, like your Googles or your Ring cameras, things like that. Those are all run on what's called the IoT. Form jacking. This is hijacking credit card info from online payment systems. Ransom and malware. That's where they download information onto your computer or your phone, because you think they're helping you and really they're not. Again, if you have questions as we go or want clarification, just raise your hand and I'll be happy to dig in a little deeper on some of these. New account fraud, that's looking like student loans, personal loans, credit cards, even opening bank accounts in your name. And then account takeover is where they use your personal information to take over your accounts. Now, when you call into a bank, typically to get any kind of information, you have to give very basic things: your name, the last four of your social, your date of birth, and an address. That information is so easily found that if people aren't careful, you can have your account taken over just by somebody finding out that information from you. It's a very scary thing. So when you get the annoyance of, oh, why do I have to do this multi-factor authentication stuff that you have to do now? This is why. It's because that information is out there everywhere for everybody. So adding that extra level of security really does help protect you and from things like this from happening. All right, financial identity theft. Financial identity theft is criminal activity that involves accessing someone's personal information for fraudulent financial gain. This could be getting your information through stolen credit cards or card numbers, stolen bank account numbers, debit card numbers, stealing your personal information to apply for new loans, new credit cards, or even to open local utilities and to rent property. All right, so how do they do it? One, dumpster diving for financial statements. This is like going through the trash, right? Stealing mail from account statements or credit card offers. That's not just from your own personal mail. Those blue boxes that sit outside of places, those are just as at risk from having things stolen from them. Stealing wallets or purses, shoulder surfing at ATMs or point of sale systems to steal PIN numbers, credit card skimming, phishing, email bait to obtain personal information, phishing, voicemail bait to obtain personal information, malware, where they, again, put malicious software that affects your computer. So just to go a little more, the credit card skimming, right? That happens in a couple of ways. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there are people who could sit in a parking lot and get your information as you walk by them. That's how sophisticated some of this stuff that they use is. Years ago, they came out with that RFID blocking technology. That was specifically to stop that type of credit card skimming. Having your stuff protected when those RFID blockers stops those kinds of people from being able to get to your data. Credit card skimming. All right, so who's at risk? Literally anyone, as you'll see, anyone with a social security number. The very young and the very old are most likely to be targeted because they see them as, they think that very old people aren't going to know how to run technology and they're going to fall, and they're very vulnerable and they like to talk to people more. And so they're more likely to be scammed because they're lonely and they're looking for connection, and people know that. The scammers know that. And the very young are likely to be targeted because they trust technology too much. And if somebody emails them a check and says, hey, just deposit this for me and you can keep the rest, they're not thinking that's any red flags because they've not had the experience for that. So that's why those two areas, those two age dynamics are more likely to be targeted. Families with household income over 100,000, because they think those people may not pay as much attention to their finances or their transactions, and so they think they can take little bits from you. So those deployed military members, because they don't have access to technology as easily as some people do. The deceased, social media users, and repeat victims. Does any of those categories surprise anybody? Okay, all right. So let's talk about a little about what it looks like. So these are ATM skimmers. So the first picture that you see there with the little green thing, that's a hidden camera or a card reader overlay. Those first two pictures. Those plastic devices fit over the slot where you insert your card. They steal and store your card data when you put your card in them. Hidden cameras, these are usually very tiny and can be placed on or around an ATM to help thieves keep an eye on the area and capture the pins. A pin capture overlay, which is that third picture you see there. Those are fake keypads that fit over an ATM's actual keypad to capture pins. And then ATM faceplates, those overlays fit over the entire ATM faceplate and can contain anything and everything from card readers to keypad overlays to hidden cameras. The best advice I can give about this is to make sure you're using an ATM that is attached to an actual bank. Those are going to be the safest ones because we are required to check those twice a day to make sure there's no strange activity on them. The second best thing is don't be afraid to try to remove some stuff. Don't get heavy on it because you shouldn't have. If it's fake, it's going to come right off. It's not going to be hard to take that off. So don't be afraid to run your fingers around and just try to pop a little bit off. See if you have any trouble or not. Especially the pin keypad one. Even in gas stations, while you think those people are watching them, they're probably not. They're probably more worried about other things. Don't be afraid to check those. But best practice, use the ones that are attached to the banks. Any questions on that? I saw somebody said noted. Yes, take lots of notes. So much good information out here. All right. So next is a point of sale skimmer. As you can see in this first picture here, it shows you the suspicious one. The card goes a lot further in than it does on the safe one. These are the ones you're going to see inside the stores. So when you go in, because you want to think that you can trust people in a store, but the truth is you can't. You can't always trust people wherever you go. So it's better safe than sorry, right? So if you see that first one, if your card goes all the way in, maybe think twice before using that one. Try to do tap to pay if you can. At the gas stations, you see two different kinds here. A lot of the newer gas stations are equipped with those green lock buttons that'll tell you if it's been triggered or not. You might see some like these that have the little stickers on them. Look for those voided labels. And then with the card readers, like I said, just look and see if it looks right. If it looks like that first one where it looks like maybe that could be something different, play around with it, see if you can't pop it off. The other best bet here is honestly to use credit cards if you can versus debit cards when you're using them in things like when you're buying anything, honestly, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later and share why I think that is. The only thing you should really use your debit card for is getting money out of an ATM. Other than that, if you have access to credit and you can use it wisely, it's the safest way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, phishing. So we've all seen these emails, right? The email looks like it's from a company you may trust. Maybe Netflix is asking you to update your payment details. Uses the logo in the header from Netflix. The email account probably says your account's on hold because of a billing problem. It usually has a generic greeting, hi dear, or customer, or something like that. If you have an account with the business, it probably wouldn't use a generic greeting like this. And then the email is going to invite you to click on a link or update. Now, here's what I'll say about this. Companies like Netflix, if we're thinking about this logically, right, they do not have time to send emails out to every single person that their payment needs to be updated. What's usually going to happen is you can't log in because your payment isn't accepted. And then you can go find out why through your account. They're not usually sending these kinds of emails. You're just not going to get your stuff. That's usually how that works. Another thing is if you look into the email, you're going to see like this one here on the Amazon one. You can look at, it's not an Amazon email address. It's coming from Amazon Canada. There's a generic greeting. You can also hover over the link that they send you to make sure, like the link in the email, if you hover over it, it's actually going to give you and show you what it actually says, because there's something you can do when you're editing links. You can make them say whatever you want. So hover over those links, make sure it's actually going to take you to where you need to go. Even better so, I just go directly to the website. I never ever click a link from an email. I don't care if it's a valid link or not. I'm going directly to the site. That's going to help protect you in that and help you get out of these phishing things, because these come all the time. PayPal's kind of the same way. I see a lot of PayPal phishing. I get a lot of it personally. Just never follow links. That's the best advice I can give on this. Always go directly to the source if you have a question. That's going to be the safest thing you can do. All right, spam text. We talked a little bit about those earlier with like the ones with, the tolls that have been going around. So this email or this text looks like it's from a company you may know. This is FedEx, right? It's, again, using their stuff. It's talking about you have a package coming, maybe you don't have a package. You're like, oh, wait, I didn't order any package. And so you click the link and now you've gotten them into your phone. They have, they're in the information and you've opened them up. You've opened yourself up to a whole thing. So don't click links in text and email. Again, if you ever have questions, go directly to the source. It's just going to be the safest way to navigate these kinds of things. Oh, and surely we're not already at the end of that. I guess that is. Did I miss? I feel like I missed some stuff. No, we went through everything. Okay, so that's pretty much the presentation. So now we're going to talk about, because we still have, I think, plenty of time. Do we not? We have some chats. Have anybody ask any questions? Let's see. Are financial institutions or other businesses aware of these add-on scam hardware being attached to their machines, and do you know if they're doing? So financial institutions, yes. Like I said, we're required to check our ATMs every single day. The ones that are not necessarily, like if you see the ones in Kroger, we're not checking those because those are like monitored by a different thing. They are still monitored, just not as carefully. And the thing that we're doing is checking them as much as we can, educating clients on it, and taking them off when we come about them. So unfortunately, it's not something that and that's why I say it's safest to use one attached to a bank. The ones that are kind of just off wherever, those are not getting watched as much, and it's just really good to make sure that you're not using those. That's why I give that that information. And we can't be everywhere, so education is really the key here. Just trying to get the word out that they're to be able to help people, make better choices in those things. All right, let's see what else we've got. I had a couple more responses, I think. Let's see. Okay, someone wants to be promoted to panelist.
I did that already.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right. Noted. Okay, so I had mentioned earlier, and I'll give everybody, please ask as many questions as you want. If anybody wants to jump in and ask questions, please feel free to do that. We'll look through there. Somebody's asking about financial wellness, the content. Okay. So let me talk a little about why I recommend using credit cards over debit cards, and then we'll look at some more chats. And honestly, feel free, like if we want to go through these, if anybody wants to raise their hand to talk, and we can talk through questions, that might be easier than me trying to read through all the chats. Lisa, if you want to look and tell me if there's any questions coming through,
sure.
We can do that as well. Okay, so with credit cards and debit cards, I highly recommend credit cards as a way to help protect against fraud, because if you're using your debit card online, in stores, especially online, you're putting yourself at risk for somebody getting that information, right? If you use a debit card, there's a process that we have to take where if you've ever had fraud on your debit card, we have to do an investigation, and it can take up to 14 days. Some banks take longer to get your money back to you. Well, yes, we will get your money back to you. It takes time. And so if you use a credit card, though, you're not out that money ever out of your bank account. It goes away. And so it's just so much better for that purpose alone. than letting somebody have access to your bank account, right? Lisa, you had asked me earlier before everybody got on if I had any advice for how to protect yourself with your online banking getting hacked, right? So when you think about anything that you have to keep passwords for, obviously every site requires you to have these super long passwords now. Most banks will offer multi-factor authentication now, where you have to you have to text yourself. Having that in place is going to help you. Staying on top of your passwords, using password managers, if you have an iPhone, or LastPass is a good one, to create those really long, hard passwords and then saving them for yourself and then changing them like once every couple of months. At least once a quarter, you should be changing your passwords and your usernames because, you know, we are definitely doing things on our end to stop those things from happening. But the rate at which these scammers are able to use technology is mind-blowing. They have machines out there that will just randomly generate numbers and it'll hit on some things and they won't have gotten your information from anywhere. And so it's not really a matter of when you're going to experience some type of fraud or if, it's when, right? Everybody's going to experience fraud at some point. The best you can hope for is you get somebody uses your credit card number. The worst that you can look for is somebody scams your mom or somebody you get scammed out of like your whole life savings. I've had people that I've dealt with who have, they thought somebody was trying to help them from their bank. The number looked like it came from their bank. And so they were told, thought they were calling from their fraud department. It turned out to be a scammer. They got them to transfer money into a whole nother account. And it was gone. We were able to get, because of insurance and stuff like that, we're able to get their money back for them, but it took a while, right? And so if you're someone who you're living paycheck to paycheck, and this person has taken all your money, that could be a big deal. And hopefully your bank will work with you to give you temporary credit or something to get that back for you. But if we can prevent it in the first place, that's really what's key. But it's so hard to do that now. So just being diligent, watching if you don't have online banking, get it. Because you are going to be the first line of defense. You have to think banks have millions of customers. There's no way we can watch everyone. So taking your own safety into accountability, watching your transactions every day, at least reviewing them once a week. If you see anything suspicious, report it right away. The sooner you report it, the easier it is. And just
so I have a question.
Yeah.
So, will the bank ever call you if they see something suspicious going on with your account, or will they just email or text you first and wait for you to call them?
So that's going to depend on a few different things. Okay. If you're someone who has a personal banker who is watching your stuff and they will probably call you, but it's going to be somebody that you know. A random customer service number is not going to ever call you. They will set, however you have your alert set up through your online banking, whether it's phone or text, you're going to get a text or an email saying, hey, we noticed this fraudulent charge, but just know scammers know that, and they're going to also send you those messages. So never ever answer the phone, or if somebody's calling you from the bank, even if it is them, hang up and call a number you know. Never respond to a text or an email. Always call the bank unless you know for sure that you're set up for that through your stuff and you can respond yes, and some banks they have that for you. You're going to notice it's going to be the same thread of stuff and you're going to have that set up. They're not just going to randomly send that to you.
Okay. I have got so I'm going to probably butcher this poor woman's name. Miraj Patel has a bunch of questions.
Okay.
Well, I think the first one isn't necessarily a question, but I think it's financial wellness. So I know you've mentioned something here about your financial wellness workshops. Maybe you could talk about those for a second.
Yeah, so I'll actually go to the next step. I don't know if I can get it to resume. So we have a full suite of financial wellness classes that we can actually cater to and teach whoever wants them. You don't even have to go to a class. You can just talk with one of our local bankers. You can contact me and we can customize what do you want to learn. We're going to sit down and teach it to you. So on the screen right now, I've got our website and a code that you can enter if you'd like to schedule your personal financial wellness checkup appointment. That will come directly to me, and we can, because everybody's going to be different on what they need to know. We can teach about credit, fraud, budgeting. There's so many things we can teach on. You name it, we can probably teach on it. And so it really does depend on what the individual needs. We do a lot of classes. You can find us all over the place. We even have financial wellness for business owners. We can do things in class, from small children to older adults. We teach it all. And so, but this is kind of how you can get set up to have a financial wellness checkup appointment to answer some of your more like personalized questions. Feel free to answer them here too, and I'll try to answer them as best I can.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't understand this one. The contest with having OK Cash monthly for Wise events.
Oh, live events. Oh, okay.
Oh.
I think from the beginning. So that's not something I can do virtually. Unfortunately, that's something that I just do and like, and it's not necessarily cash. I just bring like prizes and stuff and I hand them out as we're doing the class. So if you ever get a chance to come to one of our live events that we host, please do. They're a lot of fun. We also can come to, just like we are doing with SCORE Nashville. If you have an employer or you would like to bring us to your company, we do these for small and big groups alike, companies, we do it all the time. Pretty much, especially me, if you put me in a room where somebody wants to talk financial wellness, we're going to get it done. So if you're employed somewhere that you'd like to bring us on to start talking about this stuff, we're happy to do that as well.
Okay, fantastic. Where the pay stubs work.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you want to come, if they want to come on and maybe ask a little more detail what they mean by that.
Yeah, Mirage, could you at the bottom, can you just add something at the bottom and maybe we can answer that in a little bit. Why does TransUnion send the wrong credit card?
So I'm not sure. I think that might be more of a question to the credit card company that you're using. I can tell you as far as the credit bureaus go, there are 3 different ones, and different companies report to differently the different credit bureaus. So not every company that you have is going to report to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They may only report to one. TransUnion, when you look at your score, they have a different score model than Experian does or Equifax does. And so when you pull that score, it's not always going to be what the bank that's pulling your score is going to see, because some banks will pull TransUnion. It's not the most popular one, but every bank is going to look at they're going to use a different, we don't all use the same one. So the best thing I can tell you there is when you're looking for credit cards or loans or anything, is when you're talking to your banks, find out who they use and then look at that score. That's going to give you the best idea of what your credit score is.
Okay. What about chargebacks? How can small businesses better protect against those?
Documentation, having a clear policy with your clients about those. I mean, you're definitely going to, typically, I know some people just do it, require the return before you give it. Just having a clear policy, I think, would help with that. That's not really, I don't have too much in that realm of things. If you can prove that it was a legitimate cost, sometimes you can get that back. I know PayPal has there's certain companies people use that you're getting payment processing from that has it doesn't matter what the reason is, they're going to give you your money back, but you would have to take that up with those specific institutions on what their policies are around that. I think understanding policy is really the key to it. And that's with anything, understanding how the accounts you have work, what the rules are around them is going to be the best practice for you.
Okay. So Michael has got a question here. Could you speak more to phishing and how not to fall for that?
Yeah. So basically, the best advice I can give on phishing is you can read the stuff, but one, if you don't remember ordering anything, you probably didn't. Two, like I said earlier in the presentation, go directly to the source. So even if you think this might be real, do not follow any links. if you're calling your bank, if it's your bank that you think is phishing you, call the customer service number, or better yet, your local branch. If you have a local branch and you have a bankers at a branch that can help you, that is so paramount in us being able to help prevent fraud, is when our clients can say, hey, I got this email. What do you think? Is this you? Do you think, ask for help? It's okay. That's what we're here for. We don't mind helping with that stuff. But typically, most companies aren't sending out those types of things. They're not asking you to put your information in. Checking those links is key. But really just going directly to the source, not from the email. Even if it is legitimate, just go directly to the website versus doing it from the email or the text.
That's great. I think that's something that everybody needs to know. All right. So, how can we protect the elders in our family from these scenarios? They won't sit through trainings, and even loading antivirus and other technical solutions may not be enough because situations happen in real time. And you need to be kind of special at an older age. But yeah, so I know that probably is an issue.
It is. So it's a big issue because there's a few things that we have here. Ideally, I would say if you are close with that family member and they trust you, see if you can't get on their accounts with them as a co-owner or a signer or something that will allow you to look at their online banking and watch for things for them. Staying in their lives and being, asking what they're up to. Don't be afraid to get nosy sometimes. It really is the ones that get lonely. And what happens is they start to talk to these people on the phone, and they'll give them some sort of sob story, and they will just start talking to them, and they'll just keep bleeding them for money. And it's really sad, but really being a part of their lives, because you're right, they're not going to sit through training. Giving them just a few examples, take them to the bank, let the banker talk to them. A lot of older people still are very much, they want to talk to a person that they've known for years or that is at their bank. They're going to trust that person. And, you can go ahead of time and say, hey, my mom works here, my dad works here, my grandma works here, and I'm starting to see some of these signs, and I really want to help them. Would you mind talking to them? Trust me, that is our favorite thing to do. We will happily do that. But no, it is really hard because you have to remember at that age, they're starting to, whether they want to or not, they're starting to lose some of their independence. And it's really hard for them to give that up. So you have to be very mindful and very careful of how you do it, but it needs to be done. And sometimes it's a very slow process to get them to agree to that. But yeah, just keep reminding them little bits, checking on them. I find the families that have more people involved are less likely to fall for that stuff. Hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, so I made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to ask you about vishing, not phishing.
Voicemail. So I know on my iPhone I can set it up to where any calls that I don't know get directly to voicemail. If you don't know who the person calling you, the likelihood it's going to be usually somebody trying to sell you something or somebody trying to get information from you, or it's going to be a wrong number. Most people these days are not calling people, right? So again, don't answer numbers you don't know. Let them go to voicemail. If it's super important, they will leave you a voicemail. At that point, you can then choose to call not the number they leave on the voicemail, but look up the company that called you, look up the person that called you, and try to see if it's a legitimate business reason. Contact the actual company, not the number you maybe even find on Google. Like, be careful with that. Go directly to the website to find the customer service number. Outside of that, if it's somebody you don't recognize, or they probably don't have a point to call you anyway, feel free to put your email contact on your phone so they can email you if they have questions. But just don't answer numbers you don't know. That's the best I try to tell that to, especially my elderly client. Don't answer the phone. Let it go to voicemail. It's probably spam.
Okay, so what would be your top suggestions for small businesses and really how to protect themselves from people that are trying to fraudulently, like malware and ransomware and all that?
Train yourself and your employees. Set up these kinds of classes where we can, your bank can come in. It doesn't have to be us, just most banks can do this kind of stuff. that can come in and train your employees how to look out for this stuff. Having, the top protections on your things, multi-factor identification for your staff, everything is really good. If it's just you, taking the same protections you would as a consumer. Limiting, also you should have bank accounts that have certain features to them, like you can do things like ACH positive pay, which is where you send the bank a list of things that you're paying out, so you make sure nobody's stolen your information. You have reverse, where we can send you a list sometimes of the things that are coming through, and you can approve them or deny them. There are things that are set up through the bank, through treasury products, that are set to protect these kinds of things, to where you're more protected.
Do you offer any kind of training on things like that?
So not specifically for, like, we do have it once, we don't have it in our financial wellness suite. We do have like how to protect your business against fraud. It's pretty similar to this, a little different, but we could definitely put something like that together. As far as the training on how to use those types of products, those are going to be very company specific to which bank you're with, who you currently have your banks with. So if you're banking with us, when you come on and we're signing you up for this product, you're going to have a training that goes along with it on how to use it. So your bank should be able to do the same thing for you.
And what about finally, I don't mean to be asking all these questions, and I hope I'm not preventing other people from asking, but how are you guys utilizing AI in terms of helping prevent fraud?
So AI has been amazing. It's such a new tool right now, and fraudsters are definitely probably ahead of the game on how they're using it in order to commit fraud. For instance, something that a lot of people don't know is it takes AI less than 6 seconds to hear your voice and be able to replicate it and use it for something else. So that's why you hear people say, wait a second when you answer the phone before you say hello or anything, before, let whoever's on the other line talk first, so you can see if it's going to be like a person or a robot, because they can gather your voice and use that in another way. I can't speak too much on the AI thing because it is very new, but our fraud department specifically is using it to be able to recognize algorithms and patterns faster and things. And so that is a very new, ongoing, constant changing technology that we are utilizing so that we can keep up with the way people are doing fraud and fraud against it.
Okay, that's fantastic. Does anybody else have any questions?
Feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand. I love talking to people.
Well, you may have just covered everything.
Yeah, there's a lot more to cover for sure that I could go over. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I see anything else. It looks like, okay, that's a lot of this is just, okay. I feel like
Gretchen, a lot of excuse me, I'm sorry, but Gretchen raised her hand.
Yeah. You can go ahead and unmute her.
Hey, so your basic advice for debit versus credit cards, my kids are both in their mid to late 20s and grew up with using debit cards.
Yeah.
They need to really switch over and use credit.
Correct.
Okay, just because if it is
there's multiple reasons to use credit. Fraud is one of them. A lot of people are afraid of credit cards because people are in lots of credit card debt, and that is very valid. So definitely you want to use them the right way. Never use more than you have in your budget. Try not to pay fees for them if you can. Pay your bill every 2 weeks or every month at minimum. And that will protect that. But yes, it's you're going to get your money back most of the time with debit card unless you're found that you were a willing participant, meaning, example, if you come to the bank and take money out of the bank and go buy gift cards, we can't get your money back, right? But if somebody uses your debit card to do things, we can get your money back for you. It just takes some time. Whereas in a credit card, that's not gonna happen. And so you're more protected with those. So I highly, you need to build credit anyway. So highly recommend using credit cards wisely, but it's a really good tool against fraud. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. So I feel like this one person, so the questions you're asking, I don't want to like dismiss all these questions you're asking, but there's a lot of stuff here that's like not really relevant to the conversation today. And so
That's why I'm leaving it
I
alone.
gotcha. Okay. Just, if you have, you want to talk, definitely set an appointment. We can do that for you. So if anyone else though wants to ask any questions or, while we're talking about fraud or anything else, I'm happy to answer those or chat with you. So while we're waiting to see, because we still have another, I think 12 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. I'll just share a few of the most common types of fraud that I see. The most things, oh, good. We have somebody who's raising their hand.
Oh, that's Xavier.
Okay.
Yes, quick question.
Yes.
In terms of the scheduled wellness checkup, how many of those appointments are we entitled to once we start with the first?
There's no number. There's, as long as we can help you, we can. We don't require to be a client of ours either to have them. Just as many as we can, the first one usually looks like an overview of like what we can help you with, and then there's a plan. And so there's not a specific number. It's just however many that you need us to help you with.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. So the most common types of fraud I see, and while I'm going over these, like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hands. The first and foremost we see is obviously debit card fraud, where somebody has their debit card number stolen and somebody's got it to use, online or at the store or something. Usually it's online that you'll see that. It's not more in person because it's harder to create a real card unless they actually stole your card. So you're going to see that more online. The second thing that I've seen the most is people who get online jobs that are not real, and they send you a check, or somebody sends you a check and says this is an overpayment or this is something like that. You deposit it, and then they take the money. The check is returned. You've already spent the money, and so you're on hook for that, right? And maybe you had to send them back some or something, or you had to do something with it. So we see that a lot as well. People paying for things with fake checks. So especially as business owners, be very careful with the checks that you accept, and understand when you take them to the bank, if there's a hold on them, there's a reason. It's because while the bank can trust you, they don't know those clients that you're accepting those checks from. And so that's just a protection for you. So sometimes there could be hold on those, but that's just a protection. But being very careful with accepting checks. Setting up ACH is definitely safer. Having some sort of payment processing, whether you use Square, we have Clover, your bank may have something else. That's going to be like credit card processing and stuff. That's going to be safer. Being careful with writing your own checks. We don't recommend companies really use checks all that much anymore, because that is, you're opening up your entire account number for fraud, right? Because every check has your account number at the bottom. Well, now you've given your account number out to people. And so try to limit your use of checks when you can. And then the third is elder fraud, definitely. I see a lot more elderly people getting scammed by their family members or by complete strangers. And that's usually, we can spot that sometimes. And you may sometimes get a call from your banker saying, hey, if you're on their accounts that we've noticed this is going on, and you just want to be real careful. So checks. Okay. So yeah, so checks getting washed. So what happens there is you write a check to somebody, and they wash off the information you put, and they fill in their own information. So now you have a legit routing and accounting number and your signature on the check, but the information has changed. And that's something that happens as well. That's one of the reasons why we don't recommend necessarily using checks anymore. They're more expensive to use, and they put you at a lot of risk.
So if somebody tries to steal your identity, and so you notify the bank, but the other thing you do is you shut down Equifax and the other credit card, or so that nobody can open up anything in your name?
Correct.
Is that the
So
correct process?
honestly, you want to do that before you ever have a chance at fraud. So there's something called the credit freeze. You can Google whichever credit bureau. I would do all three: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. That name and freeze. You can put a freeze on your credit that stops anybody, including yourself, from opening anything. You should do that just to make sure you're staying safe. That will help prevent them from opening anything in your name with your social security number. That's what protects that. Just make sure if you do need to apply for credit that you take that freeze off before you do, because otherwise it will get declined. But yes, that, and then checking your credit report is huge. You're allowed to check your credit report once per year. I think it's actually more than that right now. At one point it was once per week, but check your credit report at least once per year. Make sure there's nothing weird on there, nothing suspicious, and keeping up with your online banking transactions. Those are two things that you can just do to really protect yourself 100%. Yeah.
If somebody actually does take your identity, what can you do to get any of the money back? What can you do to get yourself out of that hole?
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of different organizations that you have to contact to make that happen. Start with your bank, file a police report. That's going to be key in helping getting your money back. Knowing that you're willing to prosecute the bank, we're obviously going to do our best, but in some situations we can't. But if you got your identity stolen, like putting that into place, talking to Social Security, letting them know to put an alert on your stuff. There's just putting an alert really anywhere and contacting any of your financial institutions to let them know that this happened. There is I want to say, let me see one second. I actually have a resource on that. That has a ton of information on how to protect yourself from fraud and steps you can take. I don't have it with me right now, but I can email it to you, Lisa, if you want to email it out to the participants. I'm happy to do that.
That would be great.
Yeah, like I said, I'm used to these in-person ones, and so normally I have these to hand out. And this is just something I came up with on my own, but it's got a lot of those resources and websites that you can go visit if stuff like that happens. All right,
okay, so we've got a question here. From Jacqueline. She's saying, I recall seeing brochures at banks saying that they are insured. Does that protect us too?
So yes, so that's what you see as FDIC insurance. That is going to cover typically FDIC insurance is if a bank defaults, that you're still going to be able to get your money. That's what FDIC insurance covers, meaning your deposits are protected from that bank going under. Now, that does partially work with the banks getting your money back for fraud. But like I said, if you're found to be complacent in the fraud, you may not get your money back. We'll try our best to, but if you've done something like you've cashed a check that, you knew wasn't, like, it didn't feel right, or maybe, somebody said, do this for me. Unfortunately, in those situations, you're not only not likely to get your money back, but your account can be closed. And so be really, really careful and use your intuition. And again, there's processes banks have in place with holds around them. If you're like, I don't know, take it to the bank the check is written on. That's the best advice I can give you. If you get a check and you're unsure about it, take it to the bank that check was written on. You may have to pay a little bit of fee, but just know that your account isn't accessed when you do that. And it's going to protect you if anything's wrong with that check. If it's fraudulent, they're going to be able to tell you this isn't a real check. And so that's the best advice I can give you for that. But yes, your money is insured, but that FDIC is more so based on your deposits if, like, the bank was to go under or, or burn down or something like that, that your money's insured there.
We've got a question here from Xavier. So let's say a business account does get scammed via a scanner's device at a location. Do banks typically return the amounts that are stolen?
So I can't speak for all banks because I can only speak for First Horizon, but we have like a 90-day policy. You have 90 days to report any kind of fraud. So if your business account gets scammed, and I think you're being with the scanner devices. So those scanner devices, those aren't necessarily taking money out of your account. They're taking the information from other people's accounts, and so that's money not coming out of your account. So for your business to get scammed and have us to give back money, it would actually be people taking money from your account. That's not what's happening with those scanners. They're getting other people's bank information at those businesses versus your information, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that was the question, but.
So has anybody gone to get gas? And let's say you needed $54.16 worth of gas. And then all of a sudden it pops up on your phone that you've been charged $100.
That's not scam. That's
Yeah.
a hold. Yeah.
It's a hold. I know I've
Yeah.
called several times and I found out that it's a hold and I feel like an idiot, but they do hold a certain amount of your money.
And that's another reason why using a credit card is kind of smart, because if they hold that portion of your money, it's going to be that usually is going to be a few days before that's hold released. And so if you're tying up that money and you've only spent this $34, but you're holding up $100, that means a lot to some people. And so using that credit card gives you access to your actual money easier than holding that money. So that's just another reason to use a credit card versus a debit card.
So we've got one question that I didn't ask. So this is from Lisa Riley, and I want to make sure that Lisa got her. Lisa, did you got all your questions answered about how checks get washed? Okay, she did. Great.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I think we've got all of the questions that have been asked.
Awesome. And I do know that a lot of times people are hesitant to ask questions in these formats because they don't want to look, they think they're going to look silly, or maybe they're just not comfortable asking in the public space. So I'm actually going to put my email in here. And if anybody has any specific questions that they didn't feel comfortable asking during the class, please feel free to reach out and email me, and I will do my best to get to everyone's questions as quickly as I can. I do run a bank center, so if I don't answer you right away, no, I'm not having forgotten about you. I'll just answer you when I can. But feel free to email me any questions you have. Like I said, if you set up your appointment, that's going to come directly to me, so I'll be in contact with you to do that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me today and being able to share this information with you.
Thank you so much. It was really informative. It's scary, but it's stuff that I think we all need to know, and I really appreciate you coming today and teaching. Thank you so much.
It gets less scary the more educated you get on it, and so yeah, I definitely that's kind of my key is like financing doesn't have to be
If you send me
scary.
the brochure, I will make sure that everybody gets it. As a matter of fact, thank you.
Let me make sure I have your email as well. If you want to, I know I have. I'm not sure if I had you on an email before, so you have my email there. If you want to email me, that way I'm not putting your information out there. I can get you that information. Yeah.
Yep, I'll do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you so much everybody for joining us again today. I highly appreciate it, and I look forward to hopefully working with you guys in the future.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.